Hello everyone, welcome to News Mongolia on MNB World. It's Wednesday, November 9th. I'm Batsir Namshar. Our top stories for today: 682 secondary schools to have professional psychologists by 2024. Umnugovi province teenager becomes the 2022 FIDE World Amateur Champion. Dancer becoming kindergarten teacher. For the news, stay tuned. The 2022 FIDE World Amateur Championship took place in Malta from October 20th through 30th and was held in 4 sections: U2300, U2000, U1700 and Women U1700. 200 chess players from 51 countries participated in the championship, including 70 players from 31 countries competing in the adolescent category. In U1700, Sonimbayr Tuguldur of Mongolia claimed gold thanks to better butch holds over Alexander Martinov, who had to settle for silver. The 13-year-old winner was number 50 on the starting list.
I have been playing chess for more than 7 years. My first teacher was Master of Sport Gatan Lichten. 31 countries were represented. I think chess teaches us many things, and I like sitting for a long time and gaining strategies and knowledge we might need in the future. We had strong competitors from India, Russia and other countries. The last competition was held between our club's players, and we knew that Umnugovi province would have the next champion. It's the result of their hard work for the last 7 or 8 years.
Mongolian player Narambol Tsotbilikt was the sole leader in the Open U2000 from start to finish. The 17-year-old took gold with a perfect 9 out of 9. Our next report comes from Hovd Province's Jaralnsson. The story highlights a man who left his career as a dancer to become a kindergarten teacher.
Okay children, today we will learn how to play this song, Christmas Tree, using our simple musical instrument. 1, 2, 3, please repeat. 1, 2, 3, the next team.
These musical instruments are made out of cans, soda bottles and paper cups. The kindergarten music teacher, Kambayr Dembi, used to be a professional dancer. After graduating with a degree in music and dance, he worked as a dancer at the province drama theater for over 10 years. Due to health issues, he had to leave the theater, and now he works as a kindergarten teacher.
Even though I had been a dancer for more than 10 years, I had to leave music and dance completely. I did some research and decided to work with children. In 2013, I became a contracted teacher at the Children's Palace, and on weekends, I also teach dance classes for children and adults.
For the last 2 years, he's been working at the kindergarten in Jaralnsson of Hovd Province, teaching music and dance. His colleagues say that the children are really fond of him, and some even say they want to become a music teacher.
Children and parents are really fond of him. Kids even say they want to become music and dance teachers. Kambayr initiated classes where children learn about Mongolian tradition and heritage. Thanks to his classes, our kindergarten has become a model kindergarten that promotes health and physical activity.
Kambayr teaches dance and music to 206 children at the kindergarten. He says that art makes people more empathetic and teaches aesthetics and communication skills. According to a survey made among teenagers in 2022, 1 of 5 children answered that they had seriously thought about committing suicide. Therefore, every secondary school needs to have specialized child psychologists as part of their staff for early detection and advice for children with psychological issues and traumas. In the 2021 and 2022 academic year, 151 psychologists are working in 19% of secondary schools. Of these, 119 have received specialized training to work in secondary education establishments. Psychologists and students say that among teenagers, peer bullying, ostracism, and dissatisfaction with their appearance are the most pressing problems.
Bullying is common among our peers. This problem happens a lot among 9th and 10th graders. I haven't talked to my psychiatrist yet, but there are children in our class who need to talk to a psychologist. There are many children in our class who need counseling. There are cases where a child keeps the problems bottled up and does not come to school when it grows up, and their behavior changes.
Children of our generation always keep things hidden if they have any problems. Our school does not have a trained psychologist, but there is a lot of bullying and ostracism in our school. There are cases where upper-class children are the bullies. Family problems are number one, such as not accepting the characteristics of the child that is not understood and not being interested in the child's goodwill. On the other hand, among children who are going to graduate, there is a problem of choosing the right profession. They are confused about what kind of profession is actually suitable for them and what kind of interest they have. However, peer bullying gets everyone's attention. This problem is very common.
In Japan, a study has shown that suicides decreased by 18% when schools and kindergartens had trained psychologists. Also, providing psychologists working at educational institutions with specialized training not only provides them with the skills to work with children of all ages, but it also provides good influence in the school's environment. In the past, 120 psychologists were trained. These psychologists managed to reach 20% of all students. It means that 20% of the 740,000 students studying at schools in Mongolia had been reached. This is not a small number. For example, a student decided to leave school due to peer discrimination and talked to the school psychologist. By working with the parents and organizing different state trainings in the classes, the psychologists helped with child's psychological trauma and the student decided to stay at school. In other words, it's more effective for a school psychologist to influence many people just by one single case. Mongolia plans to employ qualified psychologists in 682 schools by 2024. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. You're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. For the first time, tech giants have joined forces to make their smart home devices work together. Up until now, smart speaker, lights or shades were siloed in their respective ecosystems, but a new interoperability standard called Matter could bring down those barriers.
This is the launch of Matter, a new interoperability communication standard for smart home devices like lights, speakers, and fans. For the first time, big names like Apple, Amazon, Google, Samsung, and more have come together to make the smart home devices interoperable and reduce the fragmentation of the market. Matter started 2 years ago and is now launching its first version. It was developed by the Connectivity Standards Alliance and was made open source.
With the launch of Matter, as MooLab, we will be announcing a Matter-ready product of the MUI board. So this is our current product. This is a smart home controller that allows you to control lighting, music, and other devices, including controlling lights. So this is a light timer. I draw out a light, and then as the timer counts down, the light will start to dim over time, allowing you to have a nice end of day and integrate this product in your daily routines.
We think that Matter is a really, really innovative and strong, strongly positioned towards the future of smartphone. And so we think that it's going to be really important going forward. And we also want to make sure that we communicate that people's existing smart home devices aren't going to be left behind, that we'll continue to support them no matter how they're connected to Alexa.
Before the launch of Matter, we've been all kind of competing against each other to grow its own ecosystem of smart devices, but that ended up, creating a fragmented marketplace. And so with Matter, we believe that together we can grow market. And with this it's bigger market. Everyone will have something that we can get out of this nice, smart home experience and all the growing industry and everything.
Smart home ecosystems like Apple HomeKit, Amazon Alexa, Google Home, or Philips Hue used to work separately and often need separate applications to be set up and controlled. Matter-certified devices will make them compatible with all ecosystems, allowing consumers to pick devices across all brands for their home. Most brands that are a part of the alliance announced that they would update smart home devices already sold to make them retroactively compatible with the new Matter standard. Ultimately, Matter seems like a welcome and needed interoperability standard to unlock the potential of the smart home industry and for tech brands to better compete device against device rather than ecosystem against ecosystem. With Matter, consumers will be able to ask Siri from Apple to turn on their Alexa of Amazon lights and turn up the heating thanks to their Nest of Google thermostat. As of 3rd of November, 190 devices were either certified or in the process of being certified by Matter.
Water-scarce Jordan is carrying out new projects to turn the tide of desertification. Current agricultural practices and climate change are turning some parts of the world into arid land, according to a new UN report.
Efforts to restore degraded but once fertile land in Jordan's desert offers hope for one of the world's most water-scarce nations. Local organizations believe projects that reintroduce native plants and implement smart water harvesting systems will cushion the impacts of climate change and desertification, which are only set to worsen according to United Nations report released on Wednesday. The United Nations Desertification Agency says 40% of land globally is currently degraded, blaming unsustainable land and water management, poor agricultural practices, mining, urbanization, and infrastructure development for the deterioration. In Jordan's arid Badia region, environmentalists are already pursuing options to ward off further damage.
In the Badia, when rain falls, most of the water runs off and gets evaporated, and the water that reaches to the dams, also most of it evaporates. So it's very important to keep the water or the rainfall where it stays. So the use of water micro-harvesting techniques coupled with the use of native seedlings that are of high quality, as well as inclusion of local communities.
The Badia is the largest geographical zone of Jordan that extends from northeast to south and east to west, up to the highlands areas of the western mountains. Wadi employs local women in its plant nurseries. Sabha Nursery produces 150,000 seedlings per year and provides jobs for 5 people full-time and up to 1,000 seasonal workers each year.
Our approach is to treat each landscape with the vegetation cover, that we can return the soil and use part of the rainfall amount to grow vegetation into those areas, not only to provide local community with fodder for their livestock, but as well as trying to improve several ecosystem services such as carbon storage and sequestration and others, many others.
The FIDE region is home to the Bedouins who primarily rely on livestock to provide food and income. Jordan is one of several countries already grappling with the effects of land degradation, with more than 2.3 billion people currently living in water-stressed countries, according to the United Nations report.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Former FIFA President Sepp Blatter says the decision to award the 2022 World Cup to Qatar was a mistake. Blatter was president of the World Football's governing body when Qatar was awarded the tournament in.
The Gulf state has been criticized for its stance on same-sex relationships, human rights record and treatment of migrant workers. Blatter said he was right to have said at the time that the tournament should not go to Qatar for 2022. The Swiss was speaking on upcoming BBC Radio 5 Live podcast series Powerplay, the house of Sepp Blatter, about the decision to award Qatar the World Cup. In an interview with Swiss newspaper Tages-Anzeiger, Blatter added Qatar is too small of a country to host the tournament and that the football and the World Cup are too big for it. The Qatar World Cup, the first to be hosted in the Middle East in the tournament's 92-year history and the first during the Northern Hemisphere winter, takes place from 20th November to 18th of December. FIFA's executive committee voted 14-8 for Qatar to host the tournament ahead of the United States 12 years ago. At the same time, Russia was awarded the 2018 event. Blatter said he voted for the United States and blames then UEFA President Michael Platini for swinging the vote in Qatar's favor. Blatter also said FIFA had adjusted the criteria used to select host countries in 2012 after concerns were raised about the treatment of migrant workers building World Cup stadiums in Qatar. Blatter spent 17 years as FIFA president but was forced to step down in 2015. Over allegations he unlawfully arranged a transfer of 2 million Swiss francs to Platini, who was also forced to resign from his position at FIFA. He was originally banned from football by FIFA for 8 years, later reduced to 6 over the Platini payment. In March 2021, he then received the additional ban until 2028 for various violations of FIFA's Code of Ethics. Blatter and Platini were charged with fraud last November but were found not guilty at the trial in Switzerland in July. The decision to award the 2018 and 2022 World Cups to Russia and Qatar respectively has been dogged by accusations of widespread corruption, which to investigations launched by Swiss prosecutors and the US Department of Justice in 2015. Qatar and Russia have always denied any wrongdoing, and both were effectively cleared by FIFA's own investigation in 2017.
Saturday's Rugby World Cup final between England and host New Zealand is set to break the tennis record for a women's rugby match day after tickets for Eden Park sold out.
More than 40,000 tickets have been sold, surpassing the previous crowd high of 34,235 at Eden Park on the tournament's opening day. Before that, the record was 20,000 set during the 2014 World Cup in France. The 2022 edition is set to be the best attended Women's Rugby World Cup. More than 140,000 fans will have been at the games, more than any other tournament after the total attendance in 2017 was 45,412. The success of the event in New Zealand will boost England's hopes of selling out 80,000 seats at Twickenham when they host the World Cup in 2025. The Rugby Football Union will also hope the Red Roses' success so far in New Zealand will increase sales for their first standalone fixture at Twickenham in April when they play France in the 2023 Women's Six Nations.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Thursday with more news and updates. Goodbye.